never seen.
Really?
What is it?
There's a couple movies that I'm saving just because I know that I'm going to enjoy them for when I really need them.
You need that movie. Yeah, you should save that.
The Godfather 2.
Oh, man. Really?
I was just saving it.
Yeah.
There's only 2.
We're live. FYI.
Sorry. We are live.
We are on the internet.
Anything you say will go on the internet.
All right.
97X. Back. The future of rock and roll.
If you see me on my phone, I'm doing the comments in our chat, so don't be offended.
What up, Fish? Live.
Beth's on already. Look at that.
Saturday Night Heat.
Doesn't she have any life? She's got to follow you around on a Friday night. What's up, Beth? Jamie says hi. She didn't, but she would if she knew that I was talking to her.
She didn't actually say hi.
That's fair, right? I know that she would say hi if she was here. It's fair.
She is watching something on TV, not thinking about you podcasting.
Hi, son and Steve.
We got the whole clan. Is your mom going to tune in? Is she on a separate device? She have her own little iPad?
She got an iPad about 2 years ago, and it took her about a year to try it out. It's like a cat. You got to leave it in the middle of the room, let them figure it out.
Yeah.
She does okay at it now.
You got to bring it home from the store so she can sniff it first. I told you we'd get some mixed curling here tonight. That's what I was fired up for.
Oh, yeah.
We'll throw in the high guard. I've dropped some curling knowledge on you fools. Watch out. Just got to get that closer to the tee line, though.
Scott, do you know anything about curling?
I know that there's some ice and some stones.
Right.
And some Russian women. Intriguing.
Is the weight done in British? Is it like the stone is 4 stones?
I don't know the weight of the stone, but I do know that the stone only comes from one island.
Oh,
It's in Scotland. You can see it from the Turnberry golf course, like the famous golf course that's over there. There's an island that all the granite comes from for every Olympic stone.
Huh.
All
right.
I told you I'll drop some curling knowledge on you, didn't I? And if I just told you I made all that up, you'd freak out, right? Because it was
check
off the top of the head.
I feel like my voice isn't coming through at all. Maybe it is a little higher.
I hear it.
Is it plenty good?
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring all of our volumes down. We're going to hit the record button. We're going to have a little intro. And then I'll introduce you guys just to say hi. We're going to start with, we probably did it with Dave, right? Do you think we did it with Dave back then?
Yeah, we definitely did.
I wonder what it was. I'm going to ask him. And then we're going to ask you, Scott, what your introduction into craft beer was. Think back to your first oh shit beer where you're like, oh wow, it's,
I already got the story.
And then we'll go into your history and what led up to opening this place. And then we'll talk about beers and all kinds of other stuff.
All right.
And then we do a toast of the week at the end of the show.
Okay.
So if there's somebody or something that you want to toast, that exciting that happened in the last week or two.
Okay.
It can be something small, you know what I mean? Or you can also do burnt toast. So if there's somebody that you want to, throw some heat at or some shade at, you can. You guys ready to get started? Any questions? Mr. Steve?
Let's do it.
All right.
Crack a beer and join John and Mr. Steve as they explore the people, places, and brews of the craft beer world. You are now entering the Might Be Brews podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Might Be Brews, episode 70. My name is John. With me, as always, Mr. Steve. How you doing tonight?
New intro night.
What do you think about the new intro?
It slaps, as the kids say.
I like it a lot. It's pretty cool. We're not brought to you by anybody yet. I'll tell you what, we're brought to you by Funk Brewing in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. So make sure you guys are checking them out online. And we've got a link rolling down, or, make sure you follow them on all the social media pages and stuff like that. But obviously you can tell we are on site here. And we've got two special guests, a good friend of the show, Dave McAdoo, the sales extraordinaire here at Funk Brewing. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, sir.
Thanks for helping set all this up. That was really exciting. And Scott, you are the head brewer and co-owner of the brewery. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit.
Thanks for coming out.
Mr. Steve, did I introduce you?
Yeah, it's
Probably not.
I said my name is John. With me as always, Mr. Steve, didn't I?
Yeah, probably.
I think I did. Well, how you doing tonight,
Didn't
Mr.
ask
Steve?
me how my day was or anything.
Yeah, how are you? You usually just reply with a well thought out joke.
Yeah, I didn't have one. I realized that as soon as the intro started, I was like, "Fuck, I forgot my joke."
Yeah, you always have one. Did you have one?
I didn't
You
have
want
one.
to start over?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
But yeah, we've got a new intro. I'm pretty excited about that. We rolled that out tonight, and a lot of new exciting stuff happening with the podcast. So just make sure you guys are following us on all the social media stuff so you can keep up with everything that's going on. So, guys, Funk Brewing, I'm so excited to be here because I remember having my first citrus and it being like a mind-blowing experience. Like, this is one of the best beers out right now. And I'm just really excited to talk to you guys about the story behind the brewery, what led up to and what it was like maybe having something that did catch fire and was really popular, all kinds of stuff. So I'm really excited about it. But let's go, since you're a new guest, Scott, we have to ask you, take us back to your early craft beer days when, was there a moment where you had something that wasn't a Bud Light or Miller Light and you were like, holy crap, there's something better out there. Tell us about that.
All right, so when I was a kid, one of my favorite movies was Sword in the Stone. And I remember this scene in Sword in the Stone where all the monks are just drinking beer and they're splashing it around. And in my mind, I had this idea of what beer would taste like by seeing the monks do that.
Okay.
And then I tried beer. It was like Coors Light.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not what it tastes like.
Right? Yeah.
So I didn't really drink at all
Yep.
until I was around 21. A friend of mine actually had a job at Shangy's and he started showing me some beers. And they were like, oh, this is different. It's pretty good. But then right after I turned 21, I bought a case of La Trappe Double just on a whim.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, all right. Grabbed a couple bottles of La Trappe. It was snowing. Lived in Emmaus. Went and got one of my friends. We went up in the woods. Beer was still warm when I bought it. And we just put a couple bottles in the snow. We were playing with this dog, throwing snowballs at each other. And then we sat down and I cracked one. Probably too cold for the beer, but it comes out and the foam freezes on top of it. I take a sip of it and I was like, wow, that's good. And all of a sudden in my mind it goes, that tastes like monks made it. And it did. And they did. And then from that moment I was like hooked. So
Tastes like celibacy.
yes. Just like dedication.
That's
to
awesome.
Fungus fermenting the wort.
It's so interesting to hear those different stories from people and how the memory is, what the memory's like and how it affected them. But Dave, do you remember I don't remember what your answer was.
Well, I had an answer, but I was thinking about what he was saying, thinking about beer from a young age. So I wanted to preface it by how we got introduced to beer, which other than, getting sips from your dad after he, mowed the lawn or whatnot, but it was Schmitz, because that's what Kevin's grandmother drank.
We had some Schmitz.
So we had Schmitz, shout out Salty. And we would drink that. And it was probably around 21. We were drinking LITs because, that was the most alcohol you could get in one drink at a time until we started like, oh, what's that? So it was it's like a three-way tie. Guinness, Dead Guy, and Sammy Smith's Oat Brown. Those are the two I really remember, but I remember at a young age drinking the darker beers and everyone looking at me like, what are you drinking? And I already had a beer nerd sense from that, well, not that piss.
Yeah, right.
I didn't really know any better, but Dead Guy, Dead Guy and Sammy Smith, so I remember drinking those for the first time, whoa.
We should point out that for the people that don't actually know, Dave and I go back a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So what are we thinking? 91, 90?
Well, it would have been.
Was it
We got
ninth grade?
introduced to Tony, so it would have been 9th grade. Yeah, because you went to Gordon
Yeah.
and I went to North. So
it would have been like 90.
9th grade. Yeah, so 90, 89, 90. Yeah, because you come over and watch Sports Center. Cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Our friendship could drink beer legally.
Yeah. I know he played Mortal Kombat, and then your little brother would come in, and then you'd yell at him.
It's fun times.
Yeah.
So, Scott, I'd like to hear a little history about how you got into brewing and how did that turn into wanting to open up your own spot?
All right, so I didn't work here or was part of this brewery when it first opened.
Okay.
So I
When did Funk actually open?
in 2014.
2014.
Okay.
All right, so I at the time I worked at a couple of different beer bars in the area. I bartended at Cannon's. I don't know if anybody remembers Cannon's down in 9th and Liberty in Allentown. A little like a small like Irish dive bar. Had an awesome beer selection, about 65 different bottles, and that's where I really kind of learned about kinds. We would get like lots of Belgian beers. We get like Fantôme, like Saisons, and all kinds of stuff in this little tiny. It was awesome, and that was really got on.
What's it called now?
Sings or something like that. Yeah, it's like a little. Not a beer bar. Yeah. I worked there for 2 years, and I hung out there for years too. And I was homebrewing pretty much from that first La Trappe experience, trying to get that going. And from there, I ended up working at Tavern on Liberty or Liberty Street Tavern near Muhlenberg's campus in Allentown, and I was bartending there for a while. And I started doing like the beer program, creating bottle lists, and I became the buyer.
Yep.
I was doing all that,
Nice.
and, like doing all draft lists and doing all kinds of events, and I got to know a lot of people. Got to know people who owned Funk at the time, people who founded Funk, and I just kind of got more and more into beer. I ended up being president of Lehigh Valley Beer Week for a year.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, for interim. Yeah, and I
Yep.
did that, and that was fun for about a month. And then, and I kind of just like forgot about it, and then the next year came around. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And then I ended up just wanted to change, and I actually just quit my job and was working here part-time as a bartender, just
Yep.
kind of figuring out what I want to do. It's just like they're like, hey, you need someone to wash some kegs, and I was like, I'll do that.
Yeah.
You want to hang out in Cannon Day? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And then the next thing I know, I'm brewing part-time, and
Sure.
then full-time, and then I'm head brewer, and then I put a lot of work in the last 2 years with the pandemic, and I just pretty much brewed beer for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to go anywhere, do anything but
Right.
brew beer.
Yep.
And I was made an offer to become part of the company and grow, and we have a lot of good big plans to do that. And we have a lot of good beer coming out, and we're trying to kind of honor some of our past, because our recipes they always change, they're always evolving, and
Yep.
some of them, we have the beer OGC that we're gonna hopefully everybody's gonna go out and buy because it's delicious. Citrus now is awesome, and we love it.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't taste like it did when we first started making it, and that doesn't mean it's bad or that. It was more like a West Coast IPA. In 2014 when they opened, I drank all those beers as being a buyer, and
Yeah.
it has a real crisp, like little bitter edge to it,
Right.
less sweet, and just like a quicker finish. And we were really, really excited to be able to reproduce that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was it like buying, beer and back then versus what it probably is now? I mean,
I was so lucky I got out when I did.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a ton more labels out there, but I feel like there's a lot less character, and there's a lot less uniqueness
sure.
in a lot of places, because I feel like there was a time where I could find this beer is from this certain place and I would have a certain taste. Now I think everything's kind of placelessness,
Right.
everything just we do it too, but a lot of people, we just okay, what are we going to do is we're going to make a beer, we're going to put oats in it, and we're going to put citra, and we're going to ferment it with 1 or 2 different yeast strains. It's going to be a juice bomb, and everyone's going to love it. But you kind of lose some character and some experimenting with different hops and stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody's Citra, Mosaic, Simcoe, and then maybe some New Zealand stuff and Nelson or some Galaxy. and we do all of that too. That's probably 90% of all the beers we do.
Right.
But we like to do some more stuff because there's more interesting flavors that you can, taste more. You can taste more like locations and places from instead of just being overwhelmed in all those delicious, juicy tropical flavors. I know why people want them.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's
Well, speaking of the non-hazy offerings, we're drinking Casual, which is your American lager. I've undergone a little bit of I don't want to say a transformation. I'll call it a shift where that's what I'm craving. I'm craving lagers. I'm craving pilsners. This is a really nice lager.
Nice, man.
It's a, I don't want to say a football beer, but it's one that I can definitely see cracking a couple at 1 o'clock and then 4 o'clock and then 8 o'clock as the games go on. And I don't have to worry about it over killing my palate. It's probably, 4.5. It's not going to get me wrecked. So I'm not going to have a bad day at work the next day if I have 3 of them. And it's really good.
Yeah, thank you. It's really satisfying to be able to be able to brew a beer like that when you're making like pretty heavily dry hop beers or pretty extreme flavored beers that you can challenge yourself and go, okay, can I actually do this? Can I actually have skill at my job, and like, can I make a beer that I can really prove that like I love doing this.
Yeah.
And that also appeals to more. I mean, it doesn't sound like this because as much as I don't like to say it, but like that appeals to more people than like a hazy IPA.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that if you're into the craft beer world. You think it's everything, but like number one selling beers in the world are all like American lagers.
Right.
And I feel this has way more character and way more like flavor and way more interesting, more complex body and everything than some macro beer. But
yeah. Do you think you're seeing a switch happen where people are, I always say that like the hazies and things like that are important to the industry because that brought in a newer crowd and they got people really excited into trying new stuff. But do you feel like you're seeing people switch back to wanting to try more styles?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I hope so, because I mean, that's how I grew up, like learning about beer. And I was just lucky because there was just like everywhere you looked, you just found new styles from new different regions and different parts of the world. And they're all still out there. And it's hard. I think the big thing about the hazy thing, the biggest thing I think that drove that, people were able to get fresh beer. That more than anything. Like that's what really drove that. You could this like in Pennsylvania, especially, like how many tasting rooms and breweries opened up in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So when people were, so when people were like, I think maybe who got into that, who kind of maybe initially would kind of be dismissive of say some European beers or some other like older classic styles, because that they weren't really able to get them fresh, and it was more like a thing that it was sitting on the shelf somewhere, and they were used to having that freshness. So now as some craft breweries, and there's a lot of them that have been doing that, have been making great styles. If you can get fresh, different styles, hopefully people will be excited about that, because I like brewing different things. I don't want to brew the same thing over again. Yeah.
What do you think has changed as far as the way that people are completely lost my train of thought just now. Let's go back to the beer, because the lager itself, I feel like maybe it's a bit of a dry finish, but I just keep wanting like my glass to refill itself.
Yeah,
But what is that gives it that dry finish? Is that like characters of the yeast or the grain bill, or what's doing that?
So we use a little rice in there, like Budweiser does. And that finishes a little drier.
Yep.
There's a little less protein, so it's a little less sticky on your mouth and get full, but it's still got some body in there. But if we balance that bitterness just right, and we get the pH right in the mash, and we get the pH right at the end of like fermentation, it just like leaves that little bit of bitterness on your tongue.
Yeah.
So it makes you thirsty. So when you're drinking it, it's not bitter, but when it's done, it leaves a little bit on the back of your tongue. Yeah.
That's exactly what it's doing. So, I mean, you're talking about how much things have changed in 10 years. You guys have been open for, the last 8 years. What have you seen change since this place has been open in the beer scene right here in this area, like right here in Emmaus?
Yeah, when Funk first opened, I mean, it was like still on the tail end of like where I was kind of thought I knew what was going on in the craft beer scene, and then
Right.
everything changed. It got really, really out there. It was really exciting when I first worked here. I remember like brewing here for like 4 or 5 months, and people would line up for our beer, and we'd sell out in 45 minutes. And I always thought I was the coolest guy in the world.
I stood in those lines.
Yeah. And I was like, I made that. I'm so cool. And it was awesome. I loved it. It was my dream to I love beer, and the fact that I was making it, and there was such a positive reception about it. And then to see that all of a sudden, like someone new opened up, and then all of a sudden the lines went away. We're like, oh, we're not cool anymore. We're still doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
And people still stuck around, still love the beer, but to see that there was a little bit of a, everybody was just looking for the next new thing to open up next new. I think it's kind of settled out right now because there's so many breweries now that people are kind of settling, finding what they really like, and people's palates are developing, and they're developing their own tastes and their own. Yeah.
How do you combat that? Because you want to do new styles to attract people, but also if you've got something that's a hit, you want to brew as much of it as possible.
Right.
If you guys were selling stuff out the door and selling out quickly, when did that kind of transform to maybe needing a more distribution model?
It was one of those things where it was like we have a kind of a weird size system because we're not big by any means here, but for like a small brewery in the area we're pretty big.
For people that are into brewing, what size equipment do you have?
So we have a 15-barrel brew house, and like most of our fermenters are 30 barrels.
Okay.
So most canning runs we get like anywhere from 250 to 300 cases out of it, and that makes sense, and it's awesome when you sell out in one day.
Yeah.
And you can just keep making as much as you want of that beer, but when all of a sudden like like the novelty wears off, and you need to kind of start finding people aren't going to find you. You have to start trying to find them and hire excellent salespeople like David. And then you have to actually start making more beer to do that. So we contract out like a Citrus IPA and Silent Disco, which are our two biggest selling beers. We actually don't make them in-house here anymore. We've been through the Citrus, we've been through four. This is our fourth different contractor, and this is the longest we stay with anyone.
Okay.
And they've dialed it in. They make it exactly how we want it. We use all the same ingredients, all the same things, match the water. We make the beer like we would make it here.
Sure.
And then that allows us to not have to, because when I first started brewing here, we just made Citrus IPA every single day, nonstop. So
what was it like when that beer caught on? Because I remember having it and being blown away by it, and I don't know what version of it that it was, but it was just something that was, it to me felt like it was new on the scene. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody had to have it. And I swear, I don't know for sure, but I swear like I went to Frank's or something like that, and he had just gotten it. So maybe it was it might not have been the out the door time that I had it, but maybe when distribution was going on, I remember having, something like that, where there was a bar that I always went to that got it for the first time. And he was like, you got to try this. This is like the new hot thing.
Frank's in Downingtown?
Yeah.
Frank's in Downingtown?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Love that place. But I don't know, what was it like when you've got a beer like that just takes off?
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of like just observing at the time and seeing the company grow, and I'm just learning how to brew. But it was exciting. I mean, like we really felt that like we kind of cashed in and put our chips in on our brand, and really felt that we had a chance to be something bigger than just just a tap room, that we could actually start putting that in places and expanding our territory. And it's and you kind of just make that decision, is if you're going to stay like small and like punk rock, or are you going to sell out, but I mean, our we call it selling out. We're still
prefer to call it buying in,
but we're still very, very small.
Keeping the lights on too.
Yes,
they call it.
Keeping the lights on, and making sure we take care of our employees, and that people we our brew team is right now. It's me and two other guys, and Victor and Connor, and they're Victor's been here for like 4 years, and it's nice to see him start like really coming into his own, and see him grow as a person and grow as like a brewer, and really like where I can sit back and like this last week, like I didn't really do anything, and it was really scary.
Yeah.
And like, but at the same time, it was kind of, it was also cool, and it accomplished in my own is that like,
Sure.
that I was like, oh, I learned how to brew, and I feel really confident in my abilities, but now I can like teach someone else and pass it along.
Yeah, that's got to be really good gratification to see somebody, take what you've learned and execute and have a really good product come out of it.
Right.
That's awesome. I'm trying to decide what to do next because I don't want to do stout yet.
You grabbed the beer and then you just kind of held it there.
I know, but I'm thinking I don't want to ruin my palate, and I'm wondering what should we do next.
So what else
should we go straight for the OG, or do we do the cozy?
Let's go cozy.
Let's go cozy.
Nice little,
So tell us about cozy. What is this?
All right, so cozy is a IPA that we had the wonderful idea of putting some Rishi cinnamon plum tea in there, because we have some tea fans around here. We like to steep up a pot here and there. We haven't done it in a while, but we got a bunch of samples of Rishi tea one time and seeing like what we could do with that.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that. What is that?
Rishi is like a tea brand. Like it's a company, and they just do like high-end teas. And like I always like this, like their green tea. I think they have like a jasmine one with like puff rice, puff jasmine rice in it. It's really good. And we found this one, and it was just like it had there was a blueberry one that we really liked, but it was just like, I don't know, it was maybe too much. But we settled on the cinnamon plum one, and
dude, the balance on this is surprising. Yeah. Like it's crazy because it's got a unique flavor that I feel like I've never had in beer before, but the balance is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
I'm a pretty honest kind of guy on this podcast. When you said tea, I really had to not make my face make a sad face because I'm not a tea fan. But this is balanced out enough that it's not. I figured it was just going to just overtake it, but it's really there in balance with the rest of the beer.
Yeah, so it's a winter IPA. It's got a little bit of spice, and the plum gives that a little bit of tartness.
If you would have told me it was a spiced IPA, I would have thought that before I would have thought tea. Yeah. That would not have been my first thought after I drank it.
We use the word approachable.
Is that the word we use, or the word you use?
That's the word I use when I'm selling it out in the world. Is approachable.
It is approachable.
Winter warmer style.
Yeah.
So Dave, tell me what it's like to go out there and sell funk beer. I mean, I know that's kind of a very broad, generic question, but
how do you feel about life?
Yeah. What's air like?
I don't want to break any news here. You've sold stuff that's not as popular, I'll say.
Yeah, that's fair.
So going into the market, you can find funk at a lot of different places. It's not an unknown beer around. So what's it like to go in there with a little bit of heft behind your back because you're a known brand at least?
It is entirely different. What Steve, of course, is referring to for other listeners is I used to sell mead, which is not beer. And it's
what's that?
What? Yeah, you can.
What's mead?
You can watch old episodes and see the interviews then. No, shout out Colony Meadery. They're awesome. You should check them out.
I'm by no means disparaging Colony.
No.
Mead is just a completely different animal.
They make excellent mead.
They really
fantastic.
I'm biased.
I've enjoed their mead.
So, but it is different because I don't have to go in with a 5-minute elevator speech explaining the product and why you've never heard of this, but you need to put it on your shelves.
Sure.
I come in with funk and they're like, oh, funk.
We sell a ton
cool.
of that.
How you doing? I've had reactions anywhere from like, funk, what? Why do you have a sales guy? Your stuff sells great. I'm like, okay, well then buy more. But like that and just the being able to come in and talk about your styles and what you're trying to do. Like Scott is so awesomely explained. And like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We think we make pretty good beer, really good beer. And, and this should be spotlighted. And this is why you should have us on draft. And this is why you should have a dedicated line. And this is why you should carry, this release right now, and don't forget about this pre-order and all things. So it's a little bit easier of a lift in what people already know.
Sure.
But there is also just that, panache of being able to say, like, we're a little bit different. So you really need to make sure you have us on your shelf.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think about how many beers that these stores and bars have to buy, and what can you do to stand out?
I mean, that's a question you ask myself every day, and you wake up, like, how am I going to get on this shelf? How am I going to get, that other awesome brewery off of that tap line so I can convince the guy or girl to put ours on? And everything in sales, it's building relationships.
Sure.
It's building relationships, going to those people that you've known. And I've been very fortunate to meet a whole lot of awesome people over the years, most of which are still in the industry. So I can still, go to them, or I get introduced from a friend, or like, oh, you got to go see my buddy over here. And I get, you get an introduction over here and an introduction over there. But being a sales rep for just one brewery, it's going in, talking to them, saying hi, and making sure that they feel taken care of, because there is a million brands out there, and a lot of them are really good. But it's like, especially because I cover the 5 counties, or the Philly 5: Montgomery, Bucks, Chester, Delco, Philly. So it's kind of a concentrated area, but it's also going to be very overwhelming. But looking at them and being able to say, like, we are local.
Yeah.
And there still is a good amount of weight to that.
Sure.
I know. I mean, the guys in New Hampshire and Vermont, like, they make some really good beers up there.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're in Philly, you're in Montco, you're in Pottstown, I really feel strongly about having to support, the beers and the breweries that are around here, because that is, it goes back into the community. It's the people that live around you. It's the people that you drink with. It's the people that you know. And so we hit with that. We talk to the little corner bars. Nobody's too big or too small for us to go in and talk to and be like, we think this beer from our catalog would fit well on your shelf or on your tap.
Yeah. That's so wild to think about, because there's so many options out there, and it's just amazing, that you guys, and it just must be pretty difficult, you know what I mean, to be able to, make sure that you guys are on the shelf.
It is. I mean, and in relationships come, ups and downs, and somebody's like, oh, well, I didn't get this, or you didn't tell me about that. And so you got to keep up with them. And it's all about that, bend don't break, and it's a constant. I mean, it's fun, it's daunting, it's slightly overwhelming, but I get to drive around and talk to people about beer.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing. I'm talking to people about beer, getting them to buy good beer so they can feel good about their purchase and what they're selling to their customers. So all I'm trying to do is pass on positive vibes through wonderful flavors that this guy makes. And, we can all just go to bed feeling good about what we put on our bodies at the end of the day.
We say that a lot. We think it's important to educate people and know the story behind the beer and behind the product and things like that, because hopefully that just builds a stronger bond to the product. And even though there are a ton of other, hazy IPAs, let's say, out there, and you're wanting to sell yours too, if there is a person, if there is a story, if there is a relationship behind it, it's a lot stronger, I think. So that's huge.
It absolutely is. I mean, I was doing a sampling tonight before the show at Parktown Beverage in Royersford. Hey, Josh, how you doing? And I had guys come by and be like, oh, yeah, Funk. And this one dude came up and was like, man, I remember when they first got this in and they only sold it by cases. And we would only get like one case in at a time, and I bought it. So everybody was mad at me. I was like, all right, dog, you want a sample of something new? I've had it all. and he still walked out with
Yeah.
a 4-pack of Silent Disco. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I was like, okay, job well done.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you remember those days, man, when you go to the beer distributor and buy a whole case? Like I'm 21, and I'm just like, well, I gotta buy a case. I'm like, buy a whole case of La Trappe and make
Right.
that commitment. It was kind of neat because you get some duds,
Yeah,
and they would stick around, and then all of a sudden you give it a try after a couple months. You're like, oh, it's not a dud. And I just didn't develop that taste yet. Yeah.
yeah.
Luckily, I was in South Carolina at like 24. They don't have cases there, so you didn't have to buy cases. So you could buy just like 6-packs or mix of sixes or whatever. It's weird to say that South Carolina was leading the way in damn near anything, but you didn't have to buy a case. I mean, you could go to the store and you can get, one 20 or the big pounders or the bombers or you get a 6-pack, you get a mixed 6-pack or what have you. So there was no you didn't have to commit to a week of drinking one label.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that whole format's changed, where you were committing to cases, 6-packs were popular, 4-pack cans became the thing, and bomber bottles, whatever. And it's just crazy how things have evolved. It's completely different.
And that's not that old here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
Right.
that old that we had to get a case from a distributor.
Right. But
Is that 5 years at the most?
Right. Yeah. And it was cool though. I mean, before it was a lot more like externally social. When you had to go to a beer bar, you had to find a place that had a lot of places.
Yep.
And then it was cool then if you find the right places. Where I was, got a chance to do that, but I was inspired by I would go around and find all the best beer bars and look at their draft list and go,
right.
can I make one better than that? And then you get that one draft list that you made, and you're like, oh man, this is beautiful. I want to be not working right now, and I want to be sitting down drinking every single one of these beers. Yeah.
Right.
Is there any place that you guys haven't been in yet that you say, man, I wish I was in a beer bar, a distributor someplace?
I'm not actually like, I don't think about those things. I have a lot of other things to think about that I can lose sleep about. So I try not to. I let those guys do what they do. But
Understood.
But it'd be cool. I mean, I'm trying to think, and I'm sure I haven't been out in so many years now because it's that. But I'm sure we're at a lot of those places that I think I would like to be. I hope so.
And the funny thing is, this area has grown so much in beer production. I don't know if there was a question somewhere about the
Fish was
Allentown.
checking in. Yeah, Allentown and Emmaus is so brewery crowded. How is that atmosphere?
Oh, it's great. I mean, we know all those people, and I've known a lot of those people from before when I worked here. So, and worked with some of them other places. Sure. I wouldn't say it's crowded. I think it's just vibrant. That's the word I would use.
I would say it's more crowded than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. But
crowded sounds like it's a bad thing, but it's not really a bad thing.
Right. Yeah, but Bamberg, Germany, it's a town the size of Bethlehem, and they've been making beer there for how many hundreds of years. They have 7 breweries in that town, and they probably had that one time. That's probably not as many as there was at one time.
Right.
So that's a mature, it's a beer culture, and if any half decent sized town in Colorado is filled with breweries, and they've been like that for a while. So I like it that. I think there's some room for some other people to go different. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not. I wouldn't say it's a good risk to take at the moment. But if you were committed and you were doing good stuff, I would love to see someone do something different and go through some room.
It's kind of interesting. So I've done a lot of work up and down Route 100, but never as far up as Emmaus. And it was kind of funny. It sounds weird, but when we were driving up here, that you get out of Chester Springs coming from our neck of the woods, and you're going up Route 100, and it's nothing forever. And then there's a Wawa, and then it's nothing, and then there's a Wawa, and then there's nothing, and then you get into Emmaus, and it's like civilization again.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat that there's this town up here that I never knew existed, but it's we went up to Shangy's and then came back, and it's just such a cool little town. I didn't expect. I expected to be it next door to one of these Wawas in the middle 100. You know what I mean?
We just got our first Wawa.
Yeah, did you?
And no, it's a great little town. And like I've lived here for, I grew up here. I went to high school here. And then when my wife and I, when I had our daughter, we moved back here because it was a great place to raise our child. And like what kind of drove me to like want to get a job here was that I could walk to work or ride my bike to work. I live less than a mile away from the brewery, and my wife actually works at another brewery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's and she works at Yergi Brewing in Emmaus.
Yeah, we passed that down the street. Yeah, I saw
so
that.
she worked there for a couple of years, and she bartended here, and she's full time down there.
Nice.
She does their photography, and it's really like open, fun, like everybody loves beer, and the fact that like she works at nights bartending on the weekends, and so I'm here, and she'll bring me lunch. And it's a cool little, like I just really feel like I'm home in Emmaus.
Yeah,
it's really cool that I get to do what I love in a town like that, in a setting like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really neat that you guys are both in the industry like that. And I always hear people talk about how like breweries don't compete like other companies. They always end up being so friendly, and even though they're in the same town or they're technically competing,
right?
Breweries don't treat each other, for the most part, don't treat each other like competition.
Yeah, so I feel like when we were open before Yergi, when Yergi opened, people were like, "Oh, you guys scared about the competition down the road?" No, it actually like helped us.
Yeah,
because people who aren't from the area, who might have thought about coming to Funk, now they see there's another brewery, like, well, we have to go because we can hit 2 spots in one shot. Yeah, so 3.
I mean, little tiny Emmaus has 2 breweries and a distillery.
Right.
That's awesome.
Shout out Triple Sun.
Triple Sun.
So tell me a little bit about Elizabethtown, because I don't want to say that I will say it. I was always confused as to why there was a Funk in Elizabethtown.
All right, so John Norman, who is our co-founder, he lives in Elizabethtown.
Okay, well there it goes.
So he had a. I don't know the full story, but like he had an opportunity to move into that building in the Elizabethtown Hotel and put in a tasting room there, and it made a sense for a company. And now they have a full service kitchen. They serve our beer, and
so are they brewing there, or are you just
they have brewed there. They have a small homebrew system, like a 1-barrel system. They do like one-offs and stuff. They're actually attached to a distillery there too. So they, for the most part, their beer is just the beer we make up here.
If somebody was asking if the water is different between the two locations, and if that plays a factor at all, but if that's a small,
Positively.
Yeah, water in Emmaus is like pretty unique. It's very hard. It's very, very. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into maintaining the equipment with the calcium deposits and all kinds of stuff.
Fish also asked, why is Dave so sensitive?
Because he's a wonderful person and he has a heart of gold.
Fish, have you been to Harry's yet?
oh.
what is the Harry? I mean, I know what Harry's is.
We'll get to that in the next segment.
Okay.
There was some Coatesville card removing from Captain New Jersey.
Egg Harbor.
So, Laura, when we were talking about like the evolution of packaging, right, in beers, and Laura chimed in and said the new thing is 2-pack stouts. Have you seen that?
Really?
I haven't seen that.
Like
Well, now
It says 2-pack stouts, so I don't know if like
instead of
people
a
are doing
4-pack, a 2-pack.
No, I have seen that. I have seen 2-packs on a shelf instead, where it's like in a carrier like that, but it
just 2 beers.
just 2 beers.
I have
All right, let's
not
do it.
seen that.
And he just keeps releasing music too.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
hologram.
2-pack? I thought it was 2-pack.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought
know,
it was
that's easily
the pronunciation.
I'm
Shout
sorry,
out.
I drank that whole beer. So.
Shout out 60 songs that changed the 90s.
Yeah, I mean,
We got to hit that before we
dude,
before we log
he
off.
just made a major announcement.
I heard. The thing I've seen I haven't seen the 2-pack stouts, but I've seen the different serving cans. The little 7-ounce cans, which I personally really think is a good idea when you're getting in those 14, 15% stouts.
The little ones, the first time I saw them was at Shaggy's, because they have like this massive growler station, and they have like a
Yeah, I actually like it on that
3
Cryo-
ounces, 7
Cryo
ounces,
station, yeah.
12 ounces, 10. Like they have like
They have the little mini kegs, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, those little 5-liter ones.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've had some nights.
I didn't take that good of a look, but one of them was $100.
It was a toppling Goliath
Yeah.
stout, I think.
yeah, those little mini kegs. They used to be like available in Beck's flavor. Yeah, that was it. And then you took those hiking.
It's the original party ball. Remember the party ball?
Oh yeah, we actually
We were talking about that like a couple episodes ago.
We need to bring that back.
I don't know why it went away.
A party ball, casual
Yeah, it was like
party ball.
self-pressurized.
Yeah, party ball of citrus.
Yeah.
That'd be like, yeah.
You throw it like a pool float and just let it go in the pool and just go over when you need it a little bit. It's awesome. Let's talk about the OGC.
This beer is so good.
So let's first ask, what is the OGC? Let's start there.
All right, so I have all the recipes on my computer, these spreadsheets, and there's a folder. It's called Old Recipes, and every once in a while I'll go, oh, there's some beer, and I go there, and I'll go that, and I'll go, all right, I remember that beer, and I'm like, oh, I'll make that beer, but I end up just changing the recipe and doing a bunch of stuff. So actually, I never clicked on citrus because I'm like, oh, we make citrus. I know how to brew citrus. That's like, I could tell you, we could go brew it right now.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like, I can remember, I know exactly how to do that. So I would never click on that. I know. And then one day I'm like, oh, I'm just curious. Clicked on it. I go, like, that's not citrus.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah, it's so different. And so I was just like, well, maybe we should make it. Because I'm like, I remember it. That's like, citrus was the first funk beer I ever tasted. So when I was buyer at Liberty Street, Keith Plunkett, who was the sales rep at Funk at the time and the marketing guy, he brought me over growlers right when they first kegging day. Brought me efflorescence, their hibiscus saison, which I've always go, I'm going to make that. And I'm like, I just never do. And then
Got to be careful with hibiscus.
right. It was delicious though. But I remember he gave me those growlers and I had them there. And then like, I should have been like the nice guy and sampled it out to the customers, but I just took those growlers home. And I remember I got out early. I got out at like 10, the bartending, and I was like, all right. And I sat there and I sat in my bed and put a show on TV, a plastic cup. And I opened that growler citrus and I was like, this was made in Emmaus? That was made in that little building I walked by with my daughter walking in a stroller. I saw them painting the building and I'm like, wow, there's going to be a brewery here. And I remember that beer and I'm like, yeah, it didn't taste like anything like that now.
Yeah.
So I was really interested in like well, see if I can make it. And I actually think I nailed it. Like,
It's so good.
Yeah.
I really like this. And especially, I don't know, maybe for whatever reason, coming off of Cozy, this beer's got such a nice bitterness to it and so much citrus. I love it.
Yeah.
So why did it change from OG citrus to what citrus is today?
So I think it's like when 2014, like this was kind of cutting edge, I feel, in a lot of ways. It was real kind of like lighter in body, sharper bitterness, has that real citrus flavor. But I think as things transformed into the juicier and hazier thing, like, I mean,
And using juice at the time too.
yeah. So like, yeah, and there's a little bit of grapefruit in here, but like when we say grapefruit, like grapefruit is so powerful, and I don't know the exact reason why like we decided to keep doing that. I think it was just more like kind of, we call it citrus, so it should have like citrus in it.
Sure.
But it's the hops that make all that flavor.
Yeah.
It's just an incidental amount of like what we put in there just to like keep that, authenticness to it.
Yeah.
But I think,
So we don't have to change the label.
right, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, and it just evolved with like, the taste and trying to keep up with trends and try to like, get things home. So like this beer isn't the one that like went crazy. You know what I mean? Like what it evolved into. And there was a period when we were making it and I was making it and I was just all new to me. I didn't know. I was just like, Scott, just put the grain in the middle and then get the grain out of the mash tun and then get in there and clean it. And I was just observing and I would get up in the tank and dry hop it, but I didn't have any access to the recipes or seeing any of that.
Yep.
And like, I know every day I'm like, it kind of just changed every month or two. Where there was an evolution.
Notice a difference, right?
And then once you got to a point where it was like, oh, we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just was like so different than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So is this out now? Is this going to be released? What's
So
the story on this?
So it's available in the tasting room now, and we just sent out a couple pallets of cans to Shaggy's. So it's going to be available at Shaggy's, and it's also going to be available to any retailer that is smart enough to buy it from Shaggy's.
Yeah.
And with David, will be thinking
Should be available today. Today's Friday, so it should be available like midweek next week.
Nice.
But if you're listening through a podcast, it's Monday.
Right. So it'll
In
be
the future.
available
So it'll be
In the
available.
future.
2 days. Yeah. In the future.
So somebody else also checked in and said, what is the future like for Funk in terms of exploring new challenges of beer that they really want to explore?
We really like to it's a long-term goal, and we have some expansion in mind that's going to hopefully be happening really soon, like where we're going to have a separate tasting room from
Okay.
here in Emmaus. I can't give you any more details than that.
Okay, nice.
And then that will, once that happens, we're going to have the ability to put more tanks in here.
Yeah.
And maybe do some stuff that the name of the company is Funk Brewing, and we don't do really any. We dabble in some sours.
Yeah.
But we want to start doing some barrel aged sours,
Oh,
funky
yeah.
beers. And that's something like we really want to take our time with. And start really small and really slow.
Yeah.
But hopefully that will happen in the next year. Yeah. So.
And you want to have a separate brewing area because your Funk will spread to all your other tanks.
We are the cleanest brewers ever. We are like
Everybody is until they.
We are like ninjas. We are ninjas. But yeah, we wouldn't do that unless we had dedicated area to keep that there. And like I said, that's why we were going to start extremely small.
Yeah.
We have some equipment that we actually we just kind of found around here that we're not using this. We could totally contaminate it. So
Shout out to Craig. He's been
Yo, what up, Craig?
he's been chiming in. What brewery would Funk do a dream collab with?
oh yeah, that's easy. It's like Carolyn, Bamberg, Smoke Beer, Ralph Beer. That would be like the absolute, my absolute. If I could go to Germany, and
Yeah.
I go through phases where I practice German,
Just in
case.
case.
Just in case,
Yeah.
I don't think I speak it fluently. I just won't make just won't make an ass out of myself.
Yeah, right.
In front of the and to see they smoke all their own malt, they malt their own, and then I go there and then just to I don't know, just to brew in a brewery that's 500 years old.
It'd be crazy, right? I don't know that I've found a smoked beer that I like.
Yeah, I haven't
I
found
don't
a
know.
smoke beer I haven't liked. So
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it's one of that.
It's one of those styles that for whatever reason I gotta I don't know. I gotta find one that's
I'm very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
It can overpower me very quickly.
interesting.
I like drinking them in small batches, but then I use them to make chili.
Did somebody bring up cryo hops? Because somebody just asked if Laura asked if are cryo hops a new thing?
Cryo hops have been around for a while. We use cryo hops. We use a lot of cryo hops,
Okay.
especially when we're making big double IPAs.
Yeah.
If we don't use cryo hops in the kettle, and we don't use cryo hops in dry hop, it's not always the whole dry hop mill or the kettle, Whirlpool edition. Just the amount of hop matter that would be in the kettle or in the dry hop when you do that, not only you get a more intense, juicy flavor from it, you get less plant matter, and the less plant matter has less polyphenols, which would be less just harsh bitterness or harsh greenness in the back of your throat. And it's just if you're just putting all just straight hop pellets in there, you'll lose 2 barrels in the kettle, and then you'll lose another 3 barrels in the fermenter just from absorption.
Oh, wow.
So that 30 barrel batch all of a sudden turns into. We had one time we thought we were cool, we were going to push the edge.
Yeah.
30 barrel batch turned into 18 barrels of yield.
Oh crap.
So
That's a lot of money.
yeah, and to me that beer sucked.
Yeah.
It just tasted like ass. It
Yeah,
just
it's
tasted
too much.
It was just it's go chew on that hop pellet. It's the worst thing you'll ever do, and then it's in a glass.
You said it tastes like ass. I was going to say it probably tasted like grass.
grass, yeah. It was
We had a hard time coming up with a name for that beer.
Yeah, that's how the beers that I brew taste like.
Who's the beer namer? Who gives you the most names? Because we got, You got Cookie Monster. I shouldn't say name. I should also say label, because you guys got a lot of hidden shtick in your labels, I'll say.
Yeah, so we've been around for been a while. Keith Plunkett, he was here for the first like 6 or 7 years of the company. He did most of that stuff. We have a guy right now, Mark Sheets. He was from Elizabethtown, and he's taking care of all that. I try not to get involved in the names for that because I'm a sensitive guy and I have really good ideas in my mind, but no one else seems to think they're cool ideas.
And so you
That's the
stop.
worst, right?
You stop putting yourself out there.
Right. Well, I put myself out there in a lot of other ways, and like almost like well, maybe I should just let other people have a shot at it. But I remember my favorite, like that's not my favorite beer name, but I had this beer name. We had this beer, I called it Choo Choo. I mean, and like because of the train goes by here.
There is a train track right there.
And it's also a pun because TTB would never let you name a beer Chugga Chugga. So it's a pun, so it's Choo Choo. So what are you going to
chugga chugga?
Yeah, so what are you going to do tonight? You're going to Chugga Chugga Choo Choo. And we put it on draft, and I was the happiest guy in the world. Yeah, gosh, people are like, hey man, Scott, what am I drinking tonight? A Choo Choo. You're like, this is awesome. And then everybody else is like, I can't sell a beer named Choo Choo. That's just wrong.
You could even put it on the can as like 2 blanks.
Yeah.
And then Choo Choo.
Right.
I was
See?
not on the sales team at the time, or we would have sold the shit out of that.
Yeah, all right. So we're making Choo Choo now. You hear that, Norm?
So was
Choo Choo.
So was Dave involved with the Royal Rumble?
So
He has to be.
Way before my time.
So we
Yeah.
got the Choo Choo thing too. We got this onomatopoeia kick. So we were like naming beers like just mumble and like, and then we had like murmur and babble. And we got this like just I don't know, and then Choo Choo was like one of those things. And then we made a beer called Rumble, which was a Schwartz beer. And then we were like drinking the Schwartz beer named Rumble, and so we were like, let's make a bigger one and call it Royal Rumble. That was a good idea. That's a great beer.
Is
it's out now.
Is Bikes after the Tom Segura skit?
It absolutely
Okay.
is. Yes.
I figured it was, but
Bikes. Yes. When we first did that, like everybody, like as soon as anyone walked in the brewery, when we first said, like everything, Bikes.
you got it.
That lasted for like 3 or 4 weeks.
And then you're like, shut up. We know.
That's not funny anymore.
Did you ever actually watch the episode that he's referring to in the skit? So somebody found it on YouTube. It's not that interesting. Like the guy says, like, Bikes. Like that's his inflection. But that just goes to the brilliance of a comedian like Segura to be able to make an entire bit out of this one word that sounded just a little bit off.
Dude, this is completely off topic, but recently I've been telling you that I've been watching Curb. I was, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and then I noticed that Seinfeld's on Netflix, and I remember a handful of episodes from when I was younger, but I just started season 1, episode 1, and got into it. And he's got all of these clips of him doing stand-up, at the beginning and end of the show. And it's crazy to me that somebody could come up with that much content. Because when I watch a Netflix special, I think like this guy probably spent 2 or 3 years hammering, just really working on the timing and the wording and everything on these bits and, on his set. And to see somebody like Seinfeld just kill with a completely different topic over and over and over again every episode,
Well,
which is crazy to me.
when you talk about nothing, it's easy to do.
I guess, right? But yeah, it's
There's a great like George Carlin quote that talks about working on that. Like George Carlin would say, like how do you come up with a new HBO special every year? And he's like, okay, so it's like an hour long, and it's like it takes me, so like there's 52 weeks in a year, so you just write a minute a week, and and you break it.
Sounds so simple, right?
Yeah, and you break it down, and you just have to wake up and just do it. Yeah, and so
it's so crazy. Like he has like a crazy bit about like a voicemail machine. Like what we used to call those things. I don't even know what it's called. I just have voicemail.
Answering
An answering machine. Yeah. It's like that's another thing that's
Voicemail
hilarious.
machine.
I know, right?
that's the name of the next beer, man.
Yeah. Voicemail machine. But yeah, like it's just crazy that he would have a bit about that for like 2 minutes at the beginning of a show, and it'd be hilarious. It's just completely mind
But
blowing.
he had like an infamous like work regimen too. Like
Really?
He was like I'm just paraphrasing. I'm going to talk like Jerry Seinfeld. I'm not going to be the funniest guy. I'm going to be the hardest working guy, and I'm just not going to stop. It's good things. It's good. Don't break the chain. Is that like every single day, no matter how shitty he felt or how depressed he felt or how down he felt, no matter what happened, he's like he had to do something. So
His job, right? Yeah,
he had to do his job. So there was never a day he didn't do his job.
that's wild. And then the comedians in cars getting coffee.
It's a great show.
That's gold. It's so good. It's so entertaining, regardless of the guest. It's really good. I don't know. I'm on like a Seinfeld kick, I guess, right now.
I don't want to interrupt. That might have been the best curling shot I've ever seen in my life.
Really? Yeah. So if anybody wants to know
Pass
or
the
understand
guard.
what's going on, it's a little distracting. There's
Why we all
a
keep looking to the right?
giant, beautiful screen up here with Beijing 2022 Olympics, and it's what is that? Sweden versus
Swiss,
Switzerland.
and that might have been the worst shot I've ever seen in my
That
life.
thing-
Followed it up.
Switzerland.
She just choked.
It looked like it was about to come into the brewery that went so far past the goal or whatever it's called. I don't even know. I don't know
house.
the terminology.
The house.
The house.
Come on, John. Get your curling knowledge.
John, what are
Under
you drinking
control.
right now?
I am drinking Cookie Monster. I love this label. I love that it reminds me of a character from a show on TV.
Oh, we're looking forward to the C&D from them too.
That was my. I was going to ask,
I already have a list of names that we're going to change the name to.
how have you not gotten a CND? That's the question.
Langhorne's far away, so you know.
Well,
That far away.
after this podcast, we'll probably do that.
Oh yeah, because they're listening.
Well, we got one from
We got one from the NFL.
Congrats.
Yeah, so that
That's
it's
exciting.
like people are listening. So
not as quick as my former employer with the Joel M. Mead. one weekend.
Did Dave ever tell you that story?
well, I've seen the label. Yeah, I was like, wow, how did they get away with that? They did.
Yeah, we
They
did
did.
not. Yeah, we were, but it was the again for Colony Meadery, Joel and me. It was the second most click-through story on NBC Philly Sports for the entire weekend. We sold the shit out of it with posters and everything, and we got a very nice, cordial letter from Joel's people Monday morning, like what this is. We were like, no more what this is. No more what this is. No more what this is, sir. We will make a donation to Joel's favorite charity. What else would you like us to do? And luckily, we were small enough that they just like shook their finger at us, and we were like, okay, sorry.
I never got my residuals from that idea, by the way.
I have a 4-pack for you.
Nice. I still have a can, actually. I have a can hiding.
Yeah, so tell us about Cookie Monster. What is this and what's going on with it?
All right, so Cookie Monster is a beer that was born as a collaboration with Batch Microcreamery. They have multiple locations, but we were at the farmers market in Allentown, downtown Allentown, where they do like they make ice cream 5 gallons at a time. So it's like each so a batch of vanilla is 5 gallons at a time, no matter what you do. So they have a flavor called Cookie Monster, which is a cookies and cream with cookie dough in it.
Okay.
And we went down there. They put up flights of ice cream, and I just started going to town on it and going, which one do I want to make? And I was like, I don't know. And then I came upon, I'm like, well, Cookie Monster has a great name.
Mhm.
2, it's the most delicious ice cream I ever tasted. Cookies and cream is like my jam.
Yeah.
And even though I am lactose intolerant, I still get down with a bowl here and there. So when we did this, I was like, the first idea is like, okay, I'll do this, but we're not going to put lactose in it.
Mhm.
And there's a couple reasons for that. Is that one, I'm lactose intolerant, and I want to drink every single thing I do.
Yeah.
When I say I'm lactose intolerant, it doesn't mean I don't eat cheese and eat ice
Sure.
cream all the time. It's just that I got to pay for it or
Yep.
prepare for it with but I don't want to be surprised that when I'm drinking beer.
Yeah.
And I have plenty of friends who are vegan, and
Yeah.
I would really like them to. I just feel like beer should just be kind of like not like a mission statement to be like, hey, we shouldn't have things like that in there, but
Right.
it should be like blasted that it is. So I challenged myself. I was like, all right, I'm going to make this beer that tastes like Cookie Crisp, like cereal or something, and it doesn't have any lactose in it.
Yeah.
And I went to town, man, and
Nailed it.
I I found some like really awesome malt from Oregon, a place called Mecca Grade
Okay.
Malt. It's a single source like malt house. I don't know all the details. From my guys, it's about a 2-acre farm, and
Oh wow.
they grow all their own barley and malt all their own barley on premise. And they have the Opal line, it's called, and these crystal malts that have like. I put chocolate and I put vanilla in here, and I put some vanilla flavoring. I put some chocolate flavoring because cookies and cream ice cream isn't the most totally natural, but all the
Sure.
flavors are natural. So,
Yep.
But a lot of these flavors come from those malts.
Nice.
Yeah, and
It's a dumb question, maybe, but like, what's the difference between like a golden stout and I mean, I guess it's like roasted malts, right? But I mean, like,
right, yeah. So it was just like I wanted to have like the flavors that you associate with stout, with the creaminess and also like the chocolate without the roast, without the bitterness.
Yeah.
And just
You're just reducing some bitterness
right.
by keeping it golden instead of going with the roasted
stuff. Yeah,
It just makes it a bit more creamy.
right, and it doesn't overpower because like
Yeah.
the little bit of roasted malt goes a long way, and
Sure.
you can try to like just put a little bit in there and
And you got a dark beer.
right, like immediately.
Yeah.
Golden stouts freak me out a little bit.
Yeah.
It just my brain can't process the look and taste.
Yeah, it's
at the
kinda
same
like-
time.
My brother is like snakes aren't white; they just don't have legs. They
Yeah.
shouldn't exist. They shouldn't be able to move like fast.
Yeah, and they can come up
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it freaks me out. It's
Oh,
funny that
that's
you
lovely.
said Cookie Crisp cereal because as soon as you said that, I was like, "Holy fuck, that's what it tastes like."
Yeah.
And it really it's Cookie Crisp cereal.
There's lots of oats in there, and yeah, it's just like I was just trying to make. I was like, I make cookies at home. Just trying to make some cookies. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we were.
That's good. I like that a lot. It's got a really good body to it, and you're getting all that vanilla and chocolate. It tastes like a treat.
Mhm.
It's
But
really good.
But it's never. I mean, it's all natural. It's all
Yeah.
either the real thing or like a natural flavoring, and it's more leans to the real stuff than any flavoring. So
Yeah.
they're just there to make it like pop that you know for real that it's vanilla and chocolate.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's delicious.
You were telling me about a really cool event that I feel like you guys have coming up. Let me you got some sort of private tasting coming up. Let us know
I do.
what we got.
Yeah. So on the 12th of February, which is next Saturday, I will be hosting a small tour of the brewery. There's tickets available on Eventbrite. I believe it is called the Double Citrus Pre-Release Production Tour and Tasting, or something weird that I can't remember what I named it. But what's going to happen is that I'm gonna have all the ingredients available for everyone to smell or taste of like how we make double citrus. I'll explain how we make double citrus, which is our biggest like double IPA release of the year. We're making 150 barrels of it in-house on a 15-barrel brew system, so that's 10 brew days in a row of double citrus.
Holy
So
cow.
every single tank of our fermentation capacity is being filled with it. As we speak, we're halfway done, and we'll finish it up next week. And I'm going to be giving out samples. We have 20 tickets available. I've sold 4 already. I'll be giving out samples out of the tank, and we'll be tasting double citrus right at the tail end of fermentation before I put any dry hops on it. And then we're going to taste one right after I put the first dry hop on it. And we're going to taste one that's going to be just done, but it hasn't been crashed yet, which hasn't been chilled yet. So it's still real green. It's got all those hot particles in it. It's going to burn the hell out of your throat. And to kind of see why we want to not have beer taste like that. And then finally, we're going to have some beer in the bright tank that's settled out and carbonated that I'll be pouring samples out of too, which is going to be kegged on Monday. And then that tank's going to be refilled. And then we're going to be canning on Wednesday and Friday. And then afterwards, it's for $20. Includes all that. And then you also will get a pint of your choice of what we have on tap right now. And I'll do a little Q&A session. It's going to start at 10:30 a.m. And we open at noon. So it's pretty much kind of just roll into us opening so you can hang out at the brewery before we're open. Yeah.
Dude, that's such a neat idea. I love the idea of that, to really get a good idea of the brewing process. Because I mean, you're going to make a lifelong fan of that beer with a
That's
know, anybody that's
and you know, just obviously like I want people to buy my beer and do it, but like
yeah,
I want to make a connection with some people who really want to know about that stuff. So yeah.
dude, that's awesome. I think it's going to be so much fun, and I think it's going to be really cool to try the different beers throughout the process. That's so neat.
It's crazy how it changes. Like
I'm sure.
Yeah, we haven't put any dry hops in any of them yet. We're about to on Monday, and I just tasted the one that's just like it just tastes like straight juice, man. It's awesome.
Yeah?
Just like and I'm like almost I'm like kind of don't. I'm like, I know I have to dry hop it. I know I have to make it double citrus, but I'm like I kind of just like it as it is right now, and hopefully some people can taste that and understand that like maybe there's like a I don't know, call it a newer style or some kind of other like way we can like get people to because we're working really hard on like making some unique fermentations, and we've gotten really good results using like stuff that we know people use to make like those kind of juicy IPAs and and those double IPAs, and we've been making double citrus for a long time, and like it's kind of evolved a tiny bit into the hazy juicy thing.
Yep.
But when the first years it came out, that wasn't a thing yet.
Sure.
So, but at the same time, we were kind of like, I didn't make those batches, but I drank both of them. I canned the one. There was, that was there. The methods that were doing it were there. That it was like kind of evolving it towards that its own. So, we had a couple batches where we got a little hate about people because everybody thinks we changed the recipe because it didn't taste like it didn't do before.
Right.
And a lot of times it's just that like we didn't know what we were doing some of the time.
Sure.
So like we're dialed in right now, and we really have like a really good like open dialogue among the production team, and like we're doing sensory evaluations at every turn, and like we're really happy where we're getting with our fermentation, especially on like managing cell counts and making sure every tank has the same it finishes at the same gravity and like has the same fermentation profile, and we have like and we're really like we're dialing in and like making our own unique fermentation profile. That's not anything out of this world, but
Sure.
I think it's like we're just really happy with that.
I've heard some people say when they're brewing big batches of beers that they're trying to keep consistent, that they blend fermenters.
Yeah,
Do you do that?
We don't have the capacity to do that
Okay.
yet, but part of our expansion plan is that we're going to be able
Nice.
to do that
Yeah.
soon. Yeah,
That's interesting. It's just something that,
I can't wait.
popped in my
I
head.
cannot wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be sweet.
Because like no matter how hard I try, every single one of those tanks tastes different.
Yeah.
And I hope like that's why I want to bring people in that can get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's an art going on there.
A ton of that's so cool. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about or plug before we get into the end of the show?
I just go ahead and ask for us. I mean, if we're not on tap, ask.
Yeah.
And ask the bartender, or you can shoot me an email, dave@funkbrewing.com. Let me know where you guys think we need to be. Like I said, I got 5 counties, so I'll cover it all. Doesn't matter what shelf, what tap. And if you're one of those industry people that are in there and you watch this and you want to do an event, let's do that too. We'll come with all the bells on and a whole bunch.
I might even show up if you're lucky.
Yeah, we got some cool toys. One of our beers is named Silent Disco, and so if you got the right spot, we can do something fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we got some plans in the mix for that specific event, and that'll be brought to light hopefully in a couple weeks. So it's going to be really cool. But no, we want to get it out there to as many people as we can, and like I said, we're just making some good beer and want to get it to as many people as we can.
Mr. Steve, do we have breaking news?
I'm not sure. I haven't been able to confirm it.
I'm trying to find. I think there's a sounder for breaking news.
And I don't know who that is that typed that either.
Grab it. No.
Nate Hoff reporting from our comment section that Russell Wilson has retired.
Who is Nate Hall?
I don't. That's what I said. I
Is it
don't
your
know.
friend, my friend?
I
I
don't
don't
know Nate Hoff.
Well, okay. Well, thank you, Nate Hall, because I really hope so. Because
He's such a beautiful man. He shouldn't risk his body out there among those.
I
gladiators
don't
there.
want him in Philly.
Well, now this might be the way they get him.
You also did want Tebow in Philly, though, so I'm not. I'm not good on your quarterback opinions.
So we had him, and he wasn't ever the starter. He was just a good community-minded man,
he's not an NFL quarterback.
spiritual lender, a spiritual advisor. For
I will
He's a
pull
winner.
out the
He-
receipts.
he's-
You were so high on Tebow, and me and Anthony were killing you.
He's a
and you
winner.
just
He
kept
is
swinging back.
he is a winner though.
He was a winner, and he's a winner now in the studio where he sits.
How do you feel about Brady retiring?
Bye. Hey man, like
I
He's
think
the
he's
greatest.
done.
I hope so because like I mean like obviously I'm an Eagles fan,
Right.
and it's so easy to hate Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But man, the last couple of years watching him play, I was just like, that dude is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
He was the greatest.
Yeah.
I
You
agree.
can say
He's
what
the
you
GOAT.
want. He was still the GOAT.
Right.
I can't help but have the idea that, Jordan retired and came back, and maybe he wants to do that better and out-retire him. So maybe he's going to retire, come
Yeah,
back,
but he
retire,
didn't-
and
he
come
didn't-
back,
he
and
doesn't
then
have,
he'll be
like-
the greatest retirer of all time as well.
That would mean he has some gambling debts that he's hiding
Maybe,
in the NBA, the NFL's trying to
Yeah,
cover it up.
is Brady going to come play basketball for a season?
Maybe.
In the minor
yeah.
leagues?
Baseball,
Curling, maybe.
something?
Curling,
Yeah.
maybe. Curling.
If he's going to do the MJ thing, he's got to play another sport
Yeah.
Yeah.
while he's off.
But I think
Good call.
because at the same time watching Brady, you're always going, there's gonna be because he's 44, and you're like, there's gonna be a game where all of a sudden it just doesn't work anymore,
And that didn't happen.
and didn't happen. And I don't think he ever wants. I think he knows,
Yeah.
that it could happen.
No, and him going out on his last win against Philly, I'm not going to say he didn't think about it, but I'm sure he thought that was like, all right, I did beat him. It wasn't in the game that counted.
Yeah, but he beat him back in 2005
Yeah,
and
well,
all those other times.
yeah. But
Fi- Fish said he didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but he's still retiring on top. Look at his stats this year.
Yeah, he led the league in passing and
He-
passing touchdowns.
Yeah, he could be the MVP this year. Easily.
right.
yeah, he will be. He will
Yeah.
be. If he's retiring, he will be the MVP. They are going to. The NFL will thank him for all of the views and all the dollars they made, and they will make him MVP one more time.
I don't know if that's already voted on or not.
I think it's voted before the playoffs. I think it is.
I
Yeah.
think so.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, there's Rodgers.
Doesn't matter what you think.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so there's one more thing I actually want to talk about real quick if we're still going
Yeah.
here. Some beer releases. We're actually canning this week too. So I have a fresh batch of casual because we have only like 2 or 3 cases left.
Nice.
So we're gonna have
Such
a
a good
small
beer.
a small run of casual, probably putting out 150 cases of that, and maybe that beer we're trying to make that a core beer. It's available everywhere, and we just can't make enough of it. And it takes a little longer because it's a lager.
Yeah.
And it's every time I feel like, okay, I have enough, we're going to send it out. By the time we give some kegs out and we put it on tap and we don't have enough to send out. So,
Good problem to have.
and then we also have a beer called the Albertswitch after the Pennsylvania cryptid, the little Bigfoot that throws apples at you. There are no apples contained in this beer, but it is a farmhouse IPA.
Wait, what?
The Albertswitch? Yeah.
I don't know what the apple twitch is.
The Albertswitch is a
Stop looking at me like I should.
You didn't
too.
react, so I didn't
It's a,
react. I was
it's
like,
a-
everybody else knows what it is. I
is
don't.
a little cryptozoology creature in Lancaster County that will terrorize you on your picnics and steal your apples, eat them, and throw quarters back at you.
Huh.
And he's skinny and hairy.
Son of a bitch.
And
I hate it when that happens.
so we actually collaborated with Mark Sheets, who is our marketing guy. He has a podcast of his own called Paranormal Punchers, where they talk about all kinds of cryptozoology and any kind of paranormal stuff, and just
Nice.
real fun stuff. And I was actually on their show last night talking about the Albertswitch, and I learned a lot,
Oh,
which
nice.
is just goofy stories about, just like it was pretty fun. But
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be a series. So we're gonna have a farmhouse IPA, whirlpool hopped and dry hop with Idaho 7, and we're gonna be canning that on on Wednesday, and that's pretty much going to be like an in-house only can release. 100 cases we're doing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you have to come to Emmaus or Elizabethtown to get it. And besides that, I think it's all
Nice.
You got a Kolsch coming up?
I do. I just got some. I got some Barber Rouge hops from France.
Ooh.
They, like, I don't know if everybody's heard about these, but they supposedly taste like all kinds of different red berries, some currants, some raspberries, and I'm getting some Weyermann Cologne malt to make kind of this like French German
Nice.
Alsace region like Cologne, this like Kolsch, just
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a single malt, single hop Kolsch with all Barber Rouge hops.
Nice.
We talked about it before, but bikes. The peach bikes.
Peach bikes. are coming
Peach
out.
bikes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, Peach Bikes coming out. So our bikes is our Shandy series. We have the base one, which is lemon bikes. We do raspberry bikes, and we also do cranberry bikes. And
It was sleds.
It was called
Now it's
sleds at
gonna
the
be
time.
bikes.
So it's going to be cranberry bikes. And we do peach bikes as their spring release. And we are working on that's going to be available in 12-ounce cans. There's a new, we're going to do 16-ounce pack, 6-packs and 12-packs of that. That'll be available in retailers.
That sounds awesome. And bikes is the Radler, right?
It's a shandy.
Shandy,
Right, Radler. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a sweeter.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Nice
fruit.
light.
Yeah, it's back sweetened. Oh, the Royal Rumble.
Going Royal Rumble.
We got to have some beer for our toast. I noticed we were empty.
Yeah, we
so
had
we got to.
That's a good toast.
They had a
good
great
call.
release for this. I don't know if I can send you the link, but our fearless leader, John Norman, put out a little. He put it on TikTok, so follow us on that. But he's a big wrestling fan, which is why I feel at home here as well. But he did a nice little Stone Cold entrance.
Oh, I saw that
video-
post. It was amazing.
I
Yeah.
saw those shorts
That
at
was
the
so
bar. I'm like, hey man, what are those?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, those are shorts I'm wearing. I'm like, I don't think you should put those on.
I could tell his religion in those shorts.
He nailed that.
I threw those beers at him. That second one, I was kind of pissed at my throw. The first one was a nice.
Oh, it was solid.
Yeah.
It was solid.
Yeah, if you can grab that and post it up, that's good time.
My daughter loves it. She's obsessed. She's like, how do you do it so good like that?
Yeah.
I'm like, she's like, how many takes did it take? I'm like, just one. She's like,
One.
Really?
Yeah.
whoa.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I thought he was changing his shirt every other take. You ready to get into the toast?
Let's do it.
Whitey Brews presents the toast of the week.
I'll go first. It's nice and easy for me. My wife's grandfather passed away this week. He was battling COVID for a month and a half, but he's just a great guy. Ever since I started dating my wife, he was always incredibly welcoming. We always did Christmas Eves at their house and stuff like that every year. Fantastic guy, so he's definitely missed. So that's my my toast of the week to Grandpa Al. Toast to him. Sorry to be a downer right off the bat, but cheers to him.
Grandpa Al.
I like this beer. It's nice and roasty.
Oh, yeah.
You know where I got to go? I got to go Olympics. I love the Olympics. Anytime I can watch these sports and pretend that I'm an expert every 4 years and not have to watch them anytime in between them, I just watch the Swiss retire. They just gave up at the end of that match
So Swiss.
because they were down 5-1 in the seventh, and they just gave up.
Little
And
league. Little league.
they pounded fists and they were done. I love the Olympics. They're great. Here's to all our Olympics, all our niche sports that
Cheers.
nobody cares about and nobody will care about again in another week and a half.
Skip.
You guys got anything?
Skip. All right. So right before I came here, I'm not proud of it, but I was playing Smash Brothers online with my friends, and I just kicked ass. So I'd like to throw
Like on Nintendo, like a Switch?
yeah.
Okay, nice.
And I'm not the best player on that, so I have
Sure.
a good night. Like I feel really good about it, but I was dominant tonight.
Nice.
So I'm gonna throw some shade at Diggs, Iggs, and Lucent, and just be like, dude, suck it. King K. Rule owned you.
Panoned.
Known. Yeah.
Here's to your Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I love some random video game smack talk.
That's hilarious. All right, one more thing. We gotta come up with a segment for this, Mr. Steve. I don't know what to call it, but there's stuff that lives in my head rent free, and I think about it way too much. I watched I guess you can call it a true crime documentary that happened in 2004 that I had never heard of, and it's one of the craziest fucking things I've ever seen. This guy in Colorado got really upset with his town because they were making him hook up to the sewer and the water for his building where he had a muffler shop.
Okay.
And they just kept going after him and fining him for not hooking up, and he got really pissed. He sold his land, but he kept a little garage there. He bought a giant bulldozer, and he was a welder, and he welded armor all around it, and he climbed in it one day, and then he went and demolished the town for an entire day. It's the craziest shit I've ever seen. And they had every fucking like police department out there shooting at him, and they couldn't do anything. Like, he thought it out so far ahead.
So he made a tank.
He made a tank, like a crazy tank. Like he was welding steel with like a 2 or 3 inch gap and filling it with concrete, and then putting that up like and built a complete encasing. Like, he actually like welded himself in. Like, people were climbing on it as he was driving it, trying to get in it and couldn't find a way in.
Did they play the slow 18 team building music as they showed him building?
I don't think they had any actual video of him building it. Maybe it was a recreation, but it's called Tread. It's called Tread. It's on Netflix. I mean, I pretty much gave away the entire story, but it's just the wildest shit that I'm like, what? Why have I not heard of this? Like, he really like went after all of the people that he felt did him wrong. And he ran his bulldozer.
Even your modern plumbing.
Yeah. And he went and ran into everybody's building, like the people's mom's house. He like demolished her house, like the newspaper. He was like,
I shouldn't be laughing at that, but
yeah,
it's
I
really
know,
funny.
I know. He's like, they told me
2004. You can laugh at that.
Okay.
2004.
they're like they told me they were gonna write a nice article about me and my business, and they never did. So I demolished the newspaper building. Like, you know, there's a concrete building next door that he's mad at for how much dust they put up, so he demolishes their building. It was just absolutely crazy, and he went through the entire thing completely untouched. Nobody could do anything, but he got stuck.
A true American warrior.
He said he made a recording before he did it. He's like, I'm a true American patriot. I just want you to know that.
It sounds
And he felt
good until like you got to think, like, how am I going to end this?
Yeah.
Like, what's my end? Am I just going to climb out of this tank and go home? No, they're going to fucking shoot you,
Yeah.
dumbass.
Yeah, no, he knew that was the last stand, I think. But you know, I'll leave the ending for you to watch. But man, it was fucking crazy, and I've just been thinking about it like every day since I watched it, like the past 3 or 4 days. It's really weird. I just
That
can't
is
get it out of
very
my
weird.
head.
I know. When I drive the Ford truck, sometimes I'm like, it'd be really fun to go flip someone's car with this.
Just
Yeah.
plow through.
It'd be nuts.
Dave, you passed on your toast. Did you have one? You just wanted to close it out?
I couldn't really think of one. But
It's not mandatory. We're not going to kick you off
Yeah,
the
it's
podcast.
okay if you don't.
I mean, we are in about 5 minutes because
Yeah, right.
it's going to be the end of the podcast.
All right, well,
well, I mean, you talked about the burnt toast, so it's fun. So one of the cool things I get to do now is, as I said, drive around and sell beer. So I get to go back to Chester County, Coatesville, the other day,
Your hometown.
my hometown, and I got to go to Harry's, which
Every Coatesvillian knows Harry's.
yeah, every person that went to Coatesville any amount of time knows Harry's. It's actually in Salisburyville, just a little bit east on 30.
West, but who's counting?
Anyway, and
It's definitely west
if you're looking at a compass
of
upside down,
Coatesville.
Just let him tell his story. I don't know
anyway,
about
so
Coatesville.
it's
I don't care.
yeah, so it's a nice little spot, and I stopped and had hot dogs and tried to sell some beer, and so I posted it because as to what's Mr. Steve cooking and Instagram and all sorts of other fun food stuffs that we get to post. And one of our dear friends, Fish, was like, I've never been there. So the burnt toast, I suppose, goes to why did you never go to Harry's? And why are you telling us that you never went to Harry's? Because some things you should just keep to yourself. But cheers to fish. Love
That's
it, brother.
Fish is officially
Cheers to
burnt
fish.
toast.
Cheers. Burnt toast. I got a little sip for left for fish.
You got to save just a little.
Yeah, I think we got some porn bots, Russian porn bots in the chat.
Finally,
Finally,
I know, where
man,
they been?
I've made it. I've made it. All these years now.
Are they reporting that Russell Wilson is retired?
I think they were the ones.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get us so that they can trick us into going to war.
Russell Wilson retired. Please click on this link.
Exactly.
Give us your bank account number.
You ready to end it?
Yeah, but I just got to do this first.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That wasn't very loud, is it?
Guys, listen, if you took the time to listen, to watch, we really appreciate you. Scott, Dave, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This was so much fun. I really appreciate you guys setting all this up. It was a blast. The beers are fantastic. Guys, make sure you follow Funk Brewing on social media. Keep an eye out for these events. That double citrus event sounds like so much fun.
I'm hoping that
There's so much other cool stuff going on. $20. I mean, come on. But guys, make sure you're following them online. And thank you so much for listening, for watching. We really appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.
Grab his dick and twist it! Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight, dude. You twist that dick! Twist his dick! Twist his dick! Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Oh, dick twist!